Hi, and thanks for joining us here for our demonstration of the newest version of Practice First version 3.2. There are quite a few changes in Practice First version 3.2, but the majority of them are related to the addition of ICD-10 coding capabilities within the program. Now rest assured, you can still continue to code your ICD-9 codes as you always have, as long as ICD-9 codes are still accepted. However, with version 3.2, you have the ability to practice with ICD-10 as well. During this video, we'll walk through the additional features that have been added to the program and show you how that ICD-10 coding is going to blend in with your current ICD-9 coding capabilities. The quick add code does work exactly the same as before. You can search for diagnoses, procedure, or E&M codes, either one code at a time or with multiple codes at once. For example, let's add a few ICD-9 codes. Here I've added a diabetes code 250.00, venipuncture 36415, and an office visit 99203. I can press Quick Add, and all three codes are added to the encounter just as before. However, within the Quick Add code section, you can now search for ICD-10 codes as well. For example, let's look up the code K83.1. Now when I press Quick Add, the ICD-10 code of K83.1 has been added. Another major change to the screen setup is regarding the search features within the new version Practice First 3.2. In the old version, in the search button, you could search for a diagnosis or a procedure at the same time. For example, if I were to type in the word chest, I may get diagnoses codes as well as procedure codes from that search. Notice the ultrasound exam chest and the unspecified chest pain both came up. This can be a little confusing already with both diagnoses and procedures returned from the same search, but it's even more so with ICD-10. With that in mind, in the new version of Practice First, we've created two search windows. The first is above the diagnosis area, where you can search for both ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes via description or code. And then below that, in the charges area, you can search for your CPT codes and E&M codes through that search. For example, on the search window on the right, let's look for chest here. Now when I click search, a window slides in from the right showing me all of the diagnoses codes involving the word chest. By default, it will search for ICD-9 codes. But what if I wish to see ICD-10 codes? No problem. At the top of the screen, click the radial button beside ICD-10 and click Search again. Now you receive all of the ICD-10 codes mentioning the word chest. For both ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes, once you find the code you like, you can click on either the description or the code on the left-hand side. The procedure section works the same. Again, I'll type in the word chest and click search, and the screen slides in from the right with all of the procedure codes involving the word chest. Once again, I can click on either the description or the code to choose that procedure. Now on our example encounter, I removed the ICD-10 code so we could look at another example. Notice that currently I have two ICD-9 codes, 250.00 and 786.59. Now again, if you want to just continue coding ICD-9, no problem. Once you have your encounter fully coded, simply click Submit and the system will run through all of the typical claim scrubber edits, just like normal. However, if you're feeling adventurous and want to look at some of those ICD-10 codes, on the right-hand side, you'll notice those blue buttons that say Lookup ICD-10. By clicking on the Lookup ICD-10 button to the right of the 250.00, I'm shown the approximate similar code within the ICD-10 coding section. Here, the 250.00 is approximately the same as an E11.9. I can then click on the description or the code, and notice that that ICD-10 code has been added as a subcode to my 250.00. Notice the code is grayed out. This code will not be sent on any actual claims, will not be sent on any HCFA forms to any actual insurance companies. This is strictly there for your information as a way for you to practice with ICD-10. With other chest pain, once again, we'll click on Lookup ICD-10. This time we receive two different codes as options, the R07.82 and the R07.89. Oftentimes with ICD-10, there will be multiple codes replacing your previous ICD-9 code. In this case, we would have to choose which of these more specific codes we want to replace our previous chest pain code with. I'll choose the R07.82. Once again, you'll notice the ICD-10 code has been added as a subcode. Notice the column that says Code Set, listing which code is a 9 code and which code is a 10 code. Notice at the bottom it tells you that ICD code set 9 is needed for this encounter. What this means is that when you send the claim, only the ICD-9 codes will be sent as mentioned before, and you have to have an ICD-9 code matching all of your ICD-10 codes. What does that mean? Well, let's pretend we picked an ICD-10 code instead. This time, I added an ICD-10 code K83.1. Now, the button instead says Lookup ICD9, a reverse search, letting me find my ICD-9 code based on the chosen ICD-10 code. Now, if I did not click Lookup ICD9, the claim scrubber would actually catch this and give me an edit telling me that one or more of my codes is missing its ICD-9 match. Because we're not sending ICD-10 codes on any claims, it will point out if you've forgotten to put the prevalent ICD-9 code with that ICD-10. Once again, I'll click on Lookup ICD-9, and I can choose either the description or code to choose this ICD-9 code. For some ICD-9 codes, they are being replaced with multiple ICD-10 codes. For example, here I've added an ICD-9 code 851.42. When I click Lookup ICD-10 for this code, I'm presented with 4 different options of codes that I can use in place of that ICD-9 code. Notice that these codes have been broken down into cerebellum and brainstem separately, and they've broken down the loss of consciousness to 30 minutes or less, or 31 minutes to 59 minutes instead. Previously, the one code handled all of these things, both cerebellum and brainstem injuries, and anything from 0 minutes to 59 minutes. Now, I have to choose one of these codes. In this case, I'll choose the second. Again, as mentioned before, you don't have to look up the ICD-10 codes at this point. Once you've picked your ICD-9 codes for the encounter, feel free to just click Submit and work the edits accordingly. You won't receive any edits telling you that you did not pick ICD-10 codes, because ICD-10 codes aren't required yet. But again, feel free to pick those ICD-10 codes to get an idea of what's coming in the future. Finally, one last thing to know about the new version of Practice First. On the login page, before actually logging in, you'll notice a new button that says ICD Code Demo. By clicking ICD Code Demo, you'll be taken to a demonstration coding screen. From here, you can practice coding an encounter with all of the exciting new ICD-10 features. This is just a demo patient with demo appointment details. None of the coding is actually real, and nothing actually gets submitted to any insurance company or any claim. Also, you'll notice that all of the other buttons on the screen are deactivated. For example, Patients, Schedule, Work List, and even the Submit button on the encounter. The only thing you can do on this screen is code an encounter to get a feel for those ICD-10 and ICD-9 coding combinations. Feel free to practice with the changes to ICD-10 here in the sandbox, and when completed, simply click MDeverywhere in the upper left-hand corner to go back to the home page. At MDeverywhere, we're very excited to be on the forefront of ICD-10 technology. By providing these new tools to you, you can get some practice with ICD-10 long before it's necessary for coding. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the support team or your account executive at MDeverywhere. Thanks and have a great day.